Creating these classes requires equipment and services that cost money. If you appreciate this education, please think about going to elithecomputerguy.com and offering a one-time or monthly recurring donation. Welcome back. As you know, I am Eli, the Computer Guy, and in today's class, I'm going to show you how to insert records into your MySQL database tables using simple hyperlinks. So up until this point, we have been using HTML forms, and we've been using a method called post to be able to give the variable values from the HTML forms to your PHP script, and then your PHP script parses the data and is able to insert it into your MySQL database tables. Well, today we're going to be using a method called get. So the method called get actually passes a full URL to your PHP script, and within that URL are the variable names and the values for the variable names. So before, where we were using $_post in order to recover the value of variables, now we will use $_get to recover those values. We will then turn those values into PHP variables. Once they're PHP variables, we'll then just simply plug it into an insert SQL statement within our PHP script, and then that will get inputted into our MySQL database tables. So it is important to understand whenever you're dealing with, again, things like MySQL and PHP and all that type of thing, that there are multiple different ways to be able to present data to your scripts so that your scripts are able to parse them. And so using hyperlinks happens to be one of those ways. So the warning for today is simply that you have to look at the situation where you are going to be using the get method to determine if it is appropriate for what you are trying to do. So the nice thing about a get method versus a post method is, since you're passing the variables and the values through an actual URL string, you can in fact bookmark that URL string, right? So if you're going to be interacting with a MySQL database, let's say to get reports, right? So let's say you want to pull a report. You want to pull a report based off of certain criteria where something is blah, 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 right? Well, if you use a get method in order to pull the report, one of the nice parts is you can actually just copy that full URL, you can bookmark it, and then whenever you want that specific report, instead of having to go through a form or something else, you can simply click on the URL, you can click on the bookmark, and voila! It is there. It is right in front of you, and that can be a very valuable thing. On the other hand, if you're going to be doing something like inserting data, updating data within your MySQL database tables, and you're using something like the get method, that can be just an absolutely, utterly ridiculous security hole. Because again, basically, since you're passing variables and values simply through a URL, you know, that's really easy to dork with. like there's bad security, and then there's passing inserts through a URL, right? That could be a big problem. On the other hand, again, a lot of people get really hypercritical about security and say, oh, I would never do that. But something to think about. Again, the demonstration that I'm going to show you today is a simple little voting app. Basically, you can vote yes, you can vote no, or you can vote both, right? Something to think about is you may not want to put this kind of voting app into a production environment, right? You don't want tens of thousands of users to be hammering a little voter app like I'm showing you today, passing inserts using a hyperlink. But on the other hand, to be thinking about is, you know, if you have a small group, let's say you have a little office group of like 20 people, and you're trying to determine, you know, do you want to order sushi today? Do you want to order pizza today? Or does the person not care whether you order both? You know, this is the type of thing where literally you can create 3 hyperlinks. You can email this basically to everybody in your group, and everybody in your group can just go click, 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 and then you sit there and you tally it up and you go, okay, everybody's eating sushi. So I do really want to reinforce this idea that when you think about security, right, security, to be clear, is very important, but you have to think about the situation, right? The security that is required when you're going to be putting something, you know, internet facing for your customers, for your clients, for your users, the security that's required there is entirely different than the security required if you're just trying to figure out, again, whether or not you're going to be ordering sushi or pizza. And this is the type of like little app. Literally, I think I wrote this thing in like 4 minutes. And that was with me like coming up with the idea. I came up with the idea. I wrote the HTML code. I wrote the PHP code. I created the database table in 4 minutes. And that's with me having to pull this out of my butt. So just imagine, again, if you're used to doing this type of thing, again, using something like these hyperlinks can just be a very easy way to be able to insert values into a table. And then again, you just do a little tally script and, figure out, which is more, sushi, pizza, or both, and go from there. So that is the warning for today. Think about the situation where you're going to be using the get method. The get method is really nice, easy, fast, insecure as hell. I mean, again, depending on what you're doing, can be utterly insecure as hell. So here we are back at my lab environment. Again, I'm using Ubuntu Desktop 18.04 LTS, but again, any Ubuntu desktop should be fine for you. I'm running with this within a virtual machine, within VirtualBox, and I happen to be using a MacBook Pro. In order to get the full LAMP stack, Linux, Apache, MySQL, and PHP, I used a tool called Taskcell, Taskcell. That allows you to very easily install the LAMP stack. I have not modified any of the default configurations. I have not modified php.ini, nor the vhost, nor anything else. The only thing that I have done is I have created a PHP folder within the Apache root directory just to give me some place to dump all of my PHP scripts and one place to keep it organized, but no other modifications. In order to create these scripts, I am using the simple gedit text editor that comes with Ubuntu Desktop. Again, this is similar to Notepad in Windows or TextEdit within the Mac OS. Basically, again, when I'm doing very simple code, I like using a simple text editor just to show you do not need a fancy IDE or script editor or anything like that in order to create these small scripts. That's just my preference. If you want to use an IDE, you know how to use an IDE, go for it. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to go and we're going to take a look at our MySQL database, again, because we always want to understand the environment that we're dealing in. So you go down to the left-hand corner, you click on Show Applications, and you go up and you type in Terminal, you hit enter, and we get to the command prompt. From here, of course, you do MySQL --u, username of Bob --p to ask for the password. Password is super secret of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then we hit enter, and we enter MySQL database. From here, what we want to do is show databases, semicolon, to make sure we know what databases are in this particular server. The database that we care about is this class DB. From here, what we're going to do is we're going to do use class DB. Oh, if I can spell it, class DB. So this will drop us into our class DB database. From here, we then do show tables to see what tables we're dealing with here. Again, remember, computers do not guess what you mean. You either put in the right syntax or it's wrong. Again, and little things like for me, so this is the table that we'll be dealing with today. So it's the votes table. And again, things like naming conventions. I'm just like one of those guys that likes plurals. So you'll notice here we have the parts table, we have the students table, we have the vendors table, and we have the votes table. I'm a plural kind of guy, right? So whenever I create a table, there's most likely going to be an S at the end of it. That makes my life easier because if I know there's always an S at the end of my tables, then I know to always put an S. One of the problems you can get with syntax is some people put a vote table and some people create a students table, and another person creates a part table, and simply not knowing whether there's an S at the end can be a real pain in the butt. So just come up with some naming convention. I don't care what it is. If you like plurals, put S's. If you don't like plurals, don't put S's. I like my S's. From here, we want to describe the votes table, so we know what the votes table looks like, semicolon, of course. So we take a look at this. So we have a vote underscore ID. This is an integer. It is the primary key, and that's the auto increment. So basically, this gives us a vote ID number. Basically, so again, every single record is unique. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Then I have a field for yes, that is an integer. Then I have a field for no, that is also an integer. And then again, I have a time field that I use as an integer. For me, especially in troubleshooting processes and when I'm building things, I like putting a time field in because it just verifies to me that things are actually updating how they're supposed to. Like when you hit the refresh, right? When you hit the refresh, if you don't have anything that's automatic, that's dynamically going to update, you're not really sure if you're refreshing or if you're getting a cache or what exactly is going on. The nice thing with having a time field is it at least gives you a timestamp to show you that time is ticking on, that yes, this has actually clicked over, it's iterated to the next iteration, it is moving along. That's just kind of one of my things. So anyways, this is what the table looks like. And then now if we do select all from votes, I don't think there should be anything in here. And we take a look, and yeah, we currently have an empty set. So this is what we're dealing with here. Now let's go over and take a look at the HTML. So we have a vote dot, again, for this, it is .html. So this is an HTML web page, standard HTML web page. There's actually no PHP. There's no real script in here at all. There are simply hrefs. There are simply hyperlinks in here. So with this, what we have is we open up the HTML tag for an HTML web page. We open up the body tag for the body of the HTML web page. We then just simply type in plain text, vote for something. Something, anything, just vote, right? We then do a break to go to the next line. We then do another break just to give us a little gap between the title and the links. And then down here we have 3 links. Now again, depending on how you do these hyperlinks, right? Depending on where the web server is, all of that, you can do it. I just plugged in the full address here to make my life easier, make sure there's no errors. So of course it's http:// again 127.0.0.1, since this is on the local machine, that is the loopback address. Then we have the PHP folder. As I said, the PHP folder is in the root directory of Apache, just to give me a place to dump all of these scripts. And then what we have here is this is where we reference the PHP script that we're going to be sending our values to, and they will be recovered by the get method. So there's a script called PHP link.php. From there, what you do is you then put a question mark. So the question mark then says, next are the variables. Next are the variables. And then here, we have a variable name of yes equals a value of 1. So yes is going to equal a value of 1. Then you have the little and symbol here. We have and then we have a variable no equals a value of 0. And of course, you close with double quotation marks since this is a hyperlink. So what this is going to do is it's going to pass to PHP link.php. It's going to pass the variable yes is going to equal 1, and the variable no is going to equal 0. And then basically in text, it's just going to say yes. All right, then we come down. I don't do any break. It's all going to be on the same line. A href, the exact same href, the exact same script that we're dealing with before, PHP link.php, question mark, variables come next. The first variable is yes. We're going to make that 0, and no is going to equal 1. And so this is going to be for no. Then we're going to go down, again, same hyperlink, 127.0.0.1, PHP folder, PHP link.php is the script. Then we're going to say here, again, question mark, and then yes equals 1, and no equals 1, so this will be for both. So basically this will plug into both columns. Again, if we go over, and we take a look at our thing here, again, we've got yes and we've got no. So when we hit yes, what will happen is yes will get iterated for 1, no will get 0. If we do no will get 1, yes will get 0. And if we do both, yes will get inputted 1 and no will get inputted 1. And so that's what we're looking at here. Then we close the body and then we close the HTML. Again, since we're using the get method, this is not a form. This is simply a hyperlink. Again, if we go over and we take a look, this is what this web page is going to look like. So when we do this, again, vote for something, break again. That gives us another line. Then yes, no, or both. And these, again, are simply hyperlinks. Then from there, we are going to go and actually take a look at the PHP link.php script. And this is all pretty simple. Now, it looks a lot like everything we've been dealing with before. So we're going to open up the PHP script like we normally do. And then we're going to create the 3 variables that will be required in order to insert into this particular table. So we're going to do a $vote_yes. So this is the PHP variable for basically vote yes is going to equal, and now it's going to be $_get, and then you have the bracket, single quotation mark, and then yes, right? So basically with with this, right, it's going to grab the value for yes. We go back, and then we're going to close a bracket, close everything else. Vote underscore no equals get, again, bracket, and then the value for no. Again, if we go back, basically it's going to grab this value here. So no matter what script, which hyperlink they click, this value will then be $vote underscore yes, and this value here will then go to $vote underscore no. Past that, again, as I say, I like dealing with time. Again, just especially when you're doing troubleshooting, when you're playing around, just having just a dynamic time variable, I find to be useful. So $time equals, and then this is simply the time function. It shows us, I think it's the milliseconds since epoch. So it's not going to give us a normal time. It's not going to say like Monday the 26th at 3:30. It's just going to give us a really long number, but that's fine for me. Then past that, we're going to go down and we're going to have the connections and everything that we're used to. So server name equals localhost because it's a local host. Username is Bob. Again, use a root level user when you're troubleshooting, when you're playing around with your MySQL database. Password, of course, is 123456. Database of class DB. We're going to create a connection. That's going to be new. MySQL I. We're going to pass the server name, pass the username, pass the password, and pass the database. Then we're going to go down. If there's a connection error, so if for some reason it doesn't connect, the username, password, or whatever else is wrong, it will kill the connection. Then it will print out connection failed, and then whatever the connection error is. Past that, we're simply going to go down here, and now we have our cool little SQL statement, and it's relatively simple. Same type of stuff you've seen before. So SQL equals $SQL equals double quotation marks to open up. Insert into the votes table. Then we say what columns. So column yes, column no, column time. Then we say values, and then we open parentheses. And then you do a single quotation mark here. Again, remember the single quotation marks. If you forget those, things go badly. And then you say $vote underscore yes, close single quotation mark, comma. Then a single quotation mark, $vote underscore no, single quotation mark, comma. Then a single quotation mark, $time, close single quotation mark, close parentheses, close the double quotation, and then do this semicolon. So basically what here is insert into the votes table at column 1, column 2, column 3, the values, value 1, value 2, value 3. So again, whatever you have, again, for us, these are simply coming from the get from those hyperlinks that I sent. If the connection query SQL equals true, so basically if everything works, it's going to then echo out, print out on the screen, votes recorded. And that's going to say yes equals concatenate with the value of vote yes, no equals concatenate with the value of vote no, and then time equals, and then simply what that timestamp is, again, as a troubleshooting routine. Then you're going to have else, basically, if this fails for whatever reason, if this is not true, it's going to echo out what the error is, going to echo out the SQL statement, and going to echo out the connection error, and then we are going to close the connection. So this is all it is. Really, the difference here is, again, you're going to be sending the values of these variables in the hyperlinks. So again, the hyperlink, you have the script here. So this is the URL to the script. Then you do question mark, and then you do the variable name equals the value that you're passing. Then you use this and the symbol for multiple variables. So you could have 10, 20. I'm actually not sure how many variables you can pass with a get. Probably at some point it just becomes a little stupid, but you can pass a lot of variables. So you can just do and. So we can know yes equals 1, and no equals 0, and. That gets passed, and then like I say here in the PHP link, then the get, so you do $_get. You simply refer to whatever the name of the variable is you have in the hyperlink. And with that, you get this fancy little web page right here. So vote for something. So I will click on yes. And we can say votes recorded, yes equals 1, no equals 0, time equals that nasty time code. From there, what we can do, let me just close that. We can go, and now we can do select all from votes again. Again, before we had an empty set. Now I can hit enter, and we can see a vote ID of 8, because I was playing around with this table before. So again, it auto increments from the last record created. So I created 7 records when I was doing the demonstration. So when I deleted all those records, although those records are gone, it still auto increments to the next number. So here we can see yes equals 1, no equals 0, and this is the time code. If we go back, I can click on both. So yes equals 1, no equals 1, time code of blah, 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 182. I go here to select all. Again, vote ID 9, yes equals 1, no equals 1. Again, time code 182. Just to show you it all works, if I click on no, again, yes equals 0, no equals 1, blah, blah, blah. Again, select all, and we can see another record has been created. Yes is 0, no is 1, and the time is now over that 3198. So that's all that's required in order to pass values, to be able to insert records into your MySQL database tables using a hyperlink and a get method for PHP. So there you go. Now you know how to pass the values of variables to your PHP scripts and be able to interact with your MySQL database tables using simple hyperlinks. Now this is probably going to be the only real class I'll be doing that's focused on this get method for PHP and MySQL, but I think you get the point on how to pass the values of variables. So if you want to use other type of SQL statements, you can now do that. So if you wanted to do some kind of like reporting feature, you now know how to create a hyperlink, again, to send a value to your PHP script. And then if you're going to be doing a report instead of an insert, then you could do something such as, do a select all or like or whatever statement like that. Again, maybe if you're going to do some kind of update, I'm not sure what kind of update you would do, but you could pass a value for an update statement. I've already shown you how to deal with updates using PHP scripts. Instead of having a form and updating based off of an HTML form, you could update off of basically this type of hyperlink. So that's the type of thing that you can go out there and play around with, experiment, see what you can do, come up with your own experiments. As always, I will tell you again, security is one of those things. When you take a look at projects like this, security is in the eye of the beholder. If you're going to put something like this out on the web, again, world-facing, globe-facing, or whatever website, you would want to be very careful about using something like get method, especially in order to insert records into a table. On the other hand, as I showed you, again, this literally took me 4 minutes to build, and I had to pull the idea out of my butt. Right? And so this is the type of thing that can be incredibly useful. Again, if you're just trying to figure out, you've got 30 members in your group, you're literally just trying to figure out, should we order pizza or sushi? This is the type of thing you can build, you can send to everybody in your group, and within 5 minutes you can have an answer. I think that's one of the important things. I get a lot of the old timers that come onto these MySQL and these PHP videos, and they just read me the riot act. But I think one of the things that they forget is not all code needs to be production level code. And I'm not joking here. I'm not trying to deflect criticism, right? Again, security is important in some circumstances, but there's this big idea out there that whenever you're going to be writing code, that you should be writing code based off of internet facing, blah, blah, blah. When in reality, you can build a lot of very useful code to make your life a hell of a lot easier. That's a type of thing where, again, you spend 5 minutes, you write the script, you then process the script or send it out to people or whatever else. And again, within 10 minutes, you have an answer. And then frankly, you delete the script and it's gone, right? So I think that's one thing where especially a lot of professional people get a little too hyper-focused on being so professional, when in reality, like I say, for a lot of things, just creating these simple scripts in order, again, to solve a problem. That's all any of this does, right? All of technology, whether it's an operating system, whether it's a scripting language, whether it's a database or anything, it's all about solving a problem. So if you can solve a problem with, 3 minutes of coding, then just do that. You don't have to go into all the big stuff all the time. So anyways, that's just one of those things to be thinking about. Again, whenever you develop code, don't under-engineer. If you're going to put something facing the internet, make sure you don't under-engineer. But on the other hand, don't over-engineer either. I think a lot of people out there really over-engineer what they're doing, and at the end of the day, basically they create projects that end up being so complicated they never actually end up solving any problems because they never get finished. Whereas again, something simple might do what you need. So, as always, I enjoyed teaching this class and look forward to seeing you in the next one. Apparently, the type of content you just saw is not what Susan W. wants for the future of YouTube. This means that recommendations by YouTube to this channel have dropped massively and views are becoming comically small. I hate to ask. I used to say I would never ask, but if you could subscribe, like, comment, and most importantly, share the videos that you appreciate, that may help slow the death of this channel. Do remember that if anything at all happens to this channel, you can go to EliTheComputerGuy.com to view the content and access information not available on YouTube.